So, welcome to the Public Arts Select Committee of September 6th. Hakan Squala Increased Telekmak, Klaskihomish, Oemach, which means welcome to the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. There is an agenda in front of the committee, and I'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Meg, seconded by Fran. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I thought we'd do a little quick introductory roundtable because we have Kiana, who's new to our committee, and I want to make sure she knows who everyone is. And maybe I'll start, and then we'll just go around the table, and people can introduce themselves and their interest in that thing. So I'm Patty, I'm the mayor, and I chair this committee, and I love art.
I'm Mick Fellows, and I'm a former councillor back in the Dark Ages kind of thing, so this is kind of
We're in the Renaissance now.
familiar. Yeah, in the Renaissance. And my particular thing right at the moment, well, I was involved from a council perspective in the Mosaic project, downtown. A few other things, and right now what I'm interested in is the Turtle Trail, and how do we use that as a project to bring the community together, and art needs to be a part of that. So it's my hope to be able to kind of talk to about some ideas. Okay.
I'm Catherine Atkinson, and I'm the arts writer at the Peak in Whistler, and I live in Squamish, and I've lived here for a long time. Well, not as long as some people.
But careful. It's like the Hotel California. You can check it out.
Yeah, so I love to write about arts, and I really love being a part of the committee. Hopefully you will too. It's really fun to do things that make the community look so good.
And she's a mosaic artist.
And I do stuff like that. Yes, yes. Not for feels like a year now. 6 months. I've got to pick it up.
How's it going? My name is Andy Anissimo. I'm a local artist, but I've been doing my art in Squamish for 10 years, over 10 years now. And I kind of get so involved in my own little world with it a lot that so this is kind of my nice way to kind of get out, talk art with other people and, touch with the normal world, I guess. The regular arts world.
Nice.
So.
Devin?
Kiana, I'm Devin, and I'm the staff liaison, so I basically report all the information that gets talked about here. I try and disseminate it and distribute it back out to the staff, and then it works the reverse, whereas I bring all the feedback and bring it back to the table.
So usually when you get agendas or if there's a question, it usually comes through Devin to the committee.
And my office is beside your mom's, so.
Your office is where?
Beside her mom's.
Oh, right.
So my name is Anne Languedoc, and I've been a resident of Squamish for the last 2 decades. I'm a practicing visual artist here, and I'm also a student at Emily Carr University of Art and Design on the new campus. So super excited to be at this table and to be able to contribute from that perspective.
Awesome.
I'm Kiana. I haven't been to the past couple meetings. I've missed them unfortunately, but I'm really happy to be here. And I am a student at House Sound Secondary, and I really, really, really love art a lot, and it's a career path I would like to go into. So yeah, this would be really good for some experience.
Yeah. We had some student at House Sound for the first year of the Public Art Committee. Mallory, do you know Mallory? I'm just drawing a blank on her last name. Woods. She must. Are you in grade 11?
I'm in grade 12
Grade
now,
12 now.
but I've never been to House Sound before. So.
Oh, is this a new?
This
Oh,
is
okay.
first year, first couple days, second day actually.
Yeah, and it was so valuable for us to have that perspective from your generation at this table. So don't be afraid to speak your mind, ask stupid questions. We all do. Really, really happy that you're here.
I'm Toby Jackson. I'm the curator of the Foyer Gallery in the Squamish Public Library and the host of the Christmas holiday artisan market, and had the pleasure of having some of her art cards and originals in the market last year. So we're talking about getting her in again this year. And I'm an artist myself, and I don't know, just like to get involved with art stuff.
What did you do this summer? Your project out there with the
Yes,
kids?
just did an awesome project with a bunch of kids, 13 hands, or 13, well, the project's called 13 Hands because there were 13 kids, and they all dipped their hand in paint and compost station at the entrance to Valley Cliff, so that
It
was
looks
a
great.
It does look
project
great.
that we did with the Squamish Arts Council, supported by some other funding, yeah. So,
That looks awesome.
it's good.
And I'm Fran Solar, and I've lived in Squamish for 27 years. Does that make me an old timer? Almost.
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh, you're a newcomer.
Oh, God, well, anyway, that's how long. And
You're
I'm
an
a
other.
weaver, and I weave with metal, and I fool around with metal and weird scrap stuff. And I'm in the art walk. My studio will be open
Oh, yay.
anytime. The weekend
Yes.
is the
We'll talk about
23rd,
art walk at the
24th.
end.
Perfect.
And was
Yeah.
interviewed on CBC.
Yes.
Oh,
I was interviewed by Mountain FM last night.
That's good too.
So glad our walks
I'm
up
sorry.
and running again. Okay, welcome. We are on to the minutes. Everyone have a chance to peruse through the minutes? We'll look for a motion to approve them. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Meg. Any errors or omissions that anyone noticed? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes? We can also address it in the roundtable at the end if you think of something later. So we're on 4.1, staff updates. We'll fire it over to Devin.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting, we, as a committee, decided to add budget as a standing item. So with some new members, I wanted to just take us through from kind of the 10,000 feet down, right back down to where we are currently at today. So the capital budget each year, $50,000 is allocated to public art over the next 5 years, starting in 2016 with the inception of the committee. The amount will be reviewed annually, so in the fall of each year during the budget cycle, and to make sure that it's in keeping with the capital project or with the capital budget.
And just on that, there's sort of placeholders now at 50 grand each. I think the first year was 15 and went up to 50. I think in the public art policy, it's a percentage of the capital projects, blah, blah, blah.
Correct.
Which we found to be a kind of a bit of a random number. And some years you might have $10 million of projects, and other years you might have $500,000. And so the budget would be like, one year it's 10 grand and next year it's 100 grand. So we thought, council thought, well, let's just keep it at 50. I think at some point we may want to go back and say, hey, you know, we can't do enough with this, and go back to council and say, consider more. But currently the 50,000 is the placeholder in the 5-year financial plan, and that's why you see it out to 2020.
Yeah. The annual breakdown, so 25 grand gets earmarked for major projects, 15 grand for minor projects, and 10 grand for maintenance and expenses. So really I've highlighted around the box that the 15 and the 10, which really makes up the committee's operating annual budget. As the initial 25 is earmarked to go into the reserve to accumulate funds for the committee to make decisions in future projects on large pieces.
Yeah, and this was a directive of the committee. So the committee said, we're gonna get 50 grand a year. Let's put half of that away so we can, every 3 years or however long, do something, a significant art project, or maybe get enough money to be able to leverage to get more money from somebody else. These technically, the committee can play with these on any
Correct.
given year. This is just sort of a committee policy. But if at any time we decide we want to do a major project or dip into the reserve, if you want to call it that, we can. I just want to say this is not something council's mandated. This is something the committee sort of at the outset decided we would do.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the status of that fund right at the moment? That we're in year 2 or 3?
We're,
Am I getting ahead?
yeah.
Oh, no,
So this-
sorry, I thought you were going to ask what the year-to-date was, and so that was me jumping ahead, sorry. In the reserve right now is $44,000, and moving into 2018, it'll be $44,000 plus 25.
Okay.
So that is the bucket in theory that this committee has to discuss in 2018 planning what they would like to see happen.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, so we'll have, add that for me, 60, it's almost $70,000.
Right.
Starting in, technically in whenever the budget's approved, so.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll have more than that because we'll have 50 more, but in the reserve fund, we'll have 70-ish.
Yeah.
69. And at that point, you can say, oh, 69, we could do something significant and put a big proposal call out there. Or we'd say, let's wait
Yeah.
another year and see if we can go out and get some grant money or find a developer or somebody to match it and go even bigger. But those are decisions. But I mean, we sort of said, let's give it 3 years and see where it is.
Are we restricted to putting that larger piece of, that larger tranche towards an artwork or several artworks, or could it go towards, we had talked about that, the festival, like the,
This is public art.
Yeah.
This is capital projects.
this is for,
This is not for festivals
Okay.
or operational.
I just
Yeah.
struck me. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is for built environment capital. They can be temporary, technically, but I think the envisionment is that we're
Something
just
permanent.
continually adding to our built
Yeah.
environment. That it has some longevity, whether it's a year or 3 years or 50 years. But it's not a festival.
No, okay.
Yeah, we do some funding to the Arts Council, some other groups that sort of go towards more festival-oriented stuff. But this is for capital, if you want to call it that. You understand the terminology capital, Kiana?
So the next slide you'll see will be the standing item moving forward on the agenda as a year-to-date budget. So just quickly, the mural project. I struggled a bit with the headers just because the budget really was an evolution. So the committee decided to go ahead with the mural project. The actual $9,000, the BC Hydro beautification project, there's still a lot to spend with regards to that project, and so we'll see that starting to hit budget in the next month or so. The Junction Park crosswalk that the committee dedicated $2,000 towards. The Brackendale Elementary School crosswalk, 400. The Stan Clark Park mosaic. I called it the investigation, really like the research and the investigation behind what the committee wants to do with that asset. The committee earmarked $1,000, $400 of that has been spent to date, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. The Pemberton Underpass mural done by the Squamish Alternative School, $700 as a grant, and then the Mural Festival grant of $2,000 from last committee meeting. So we're eking pretty close towards our 25,000, and I put down 2 considerations at the bottom, only because coming out of last meeting, 2 of the things that the committee asked me to investigate further were, 1, getting an up-to-date budget, and 2, to consider an additional contribution to this to the mural festival in an additional grant on top of the 2,000 already earmarked. And then the other consideration was that the Pemberton Underpass has been fallen victim to some graffiti, which I have some photos later on that we can speak to, and what that would look like in terms of coating and washing, and
It would cost twice as much to fix it as to make it in the first place.
unfortunately, yes.
Incredible.
So that's probably a lot of information in really short order. If anyone has any questions.
So just to clarify, we're at about 23, including the dedicated to the hydro, so we're down to not very much.
Not very much, yeah.
Meg?
Can that be emailed to us?
Yeah, we can send that, absolutely,
Absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
You know, just so that we actually have it, because it's nice to.
absolutely.
Yeah,
We can
absolutely.
just send the whole, PowerPoint,
PowerPoint,
yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
Andy, did I see him? You're good? Okay, I wasn't sure if you did.
No, sorry, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, everyone's clear on the budget? So I think maybe, should we have a little conversation about, when Stan was here at the last meeting, we sort of said, we'll look at the budget, see if we have any money left. I don't think we have any money left to put towards the mural festival. I think it's wise to keep a little bit of money in there if we wanna, we still have 4 months of the year if we wanna help clean up the alternative schools mural or anything like that. So I think at this point, totally up to the committee, but we're getting a little low. I'm glad we didn't earmark it last time because we would have been over budget.
Yeah, if it's not overstepping, it would be staff's recommendation to the committee that they, given the project's still left to complete on the table, a little bit of wiggle room might be prudent.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask another question? The 8K still to spend to complete project, what's the timeline to complete that PC Hydro beautification?
In the next 2 months,
In the next 2 months, so
Yeah.
that will be spent at that point.
correct?
Yeah.
I would say a month. I'm starting to learn that when I say a month, it becomes 2.
Yeah, but I
You're a slow learner, you've been here about 4 years?
I know.
before the snow flies, maybe?
Yeah, without a
that's
doubt,
one, yeah.
yeah.
Cool, thank you. I think that's
Yep.
great.
Okay, excellent.
So to jump to the Pemberton Underpass
Yep.
mural, I took, these photos were as recent as yesterday afternoon. And so the teacher from, who was responsible for working on the project and I have been liaising over the summer. And the school has come back and unfortunately they don't have any additional funds to contribute to, we'll call it restoration, remediation. But we did gather quotes from the anti-graffiti company, and so currently the coating on the mural is a GP 1000, which is a semi-soluble solution that goes on the surface and basically is still intact. The intent of it is to wash it off immediately and then apply either a GP 1500 or a GP 2000, which are just further waxy solutions to apply to the surface. The GP 2000 is marketed as a permanent solution so that it can be washed off over and over and over again. It would be staff's recommendation that if they were to entertain a solution, that the permanent solution would be the recommendation. I think that there's an opportunity to discuss this at the committee and maybe ask the school to do some sort of co-joint fundraising initiative.
Yeah, and maybe just from a terminology point of view, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I look at this as tagging, not graffiti. Like, I actually like graffiti.
Yeah.
But this is just shameless tagging.
I wasn't sure, with my also limited knowledge, I wasn't sure if some of it was tagging and it's irrelevant.
And some of it was,
Yeah, graffiti.
Was the person ever identified in any way?
No, but I can say I ride my bike along here quite often on the way to work, and it has, without making any guarantees, what has gone on, it has stopped. Like we haven't seen any increases in the past month or so. Like the initial,
it was tagged right away.
yeah, immediately, and I haven't seen anything
And
additional
my
added.
part B is, did we ever complain to the RCMP about this?
Staff didn't.
No. Because, I mean, is it is costly damage, and, yeah, I just,
Yeah, we can talk about the RCP.
okay.
So I guess the trick is, can you go back to the budget for a second?
Yeah.
Just to get my, so we have 44 in sort of the long term, but don't we have a maintenance budget?
Yes.
Oh, there is. Do we still have that 10?
No, we're sitting, we're allocated to approximately $23,000.
And so we went over our minor projects budget.
Correct.
So I don't quite understand, is there already there's already a coating on it?
There's already a coating, so
So they applied when they were finished the mural?
correct.
The
They were
students?
able
Okay.
to through sponsorship of the paint and through some local businesses, they were able to apply a GP 1000.
I see.
But it's really a one-time solution. Our operations department is happy to power wash it off, but it leaves it exposed to permanent damage. Their concern is that they don't want to be doing this over and over and over again.
Was there an effort made to talk to the youth center and some of the graffiti artists in town when we put this project together?
They did their own research and homework, and I suspect some of them over at the youth center participated in this project. And they talked to graffiti experts in the city. They did quite a bit of homework when they did this project.
Yeah.
They came to
Yeah.
us,
But it was their independent project. We didn't come up with the idea. They came to us for some funding, and we approved.
and we sort of said, yeah, go and use
Yeah,
this
yeah.
canvas, and
It's just the
we'll help
more
out with some-
conversations, obviously, you have with some of the, then the less likely are to get more vandalism kind of thing on it, is my sense.
Yeah.
And the other
Hard to
thing,
know.
It's tough because, sorry to interrupt,
That's
it's like, because it was their idea to put it there.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm trying to think whose responsibility is it to maintain
Well,
it,
it's,
right? Is it ours or is it?
well,
someone
it
else's?
was, the Safe Routes to School as well
Yeah.
identified that because, you know, some of the younger kids were afraid to go under the underpass because it's dark and because of some of the graffiti, and so one of the ideas was that if we actually put a piece of art in there, then the graffiti wouldn't happen, and then it would be a more welcoming place to go through. So I think there was a number of different reasons why that was identified.
It's too bad, it's like, it's almost like every artist got hit, it looks like, you know, it's not like it's just one artist's piece or something.
Well, one of the things
Involved
was,
now,
what,
really.
I hate school, you know, and it was right at the end of term kind of thing, and it was just, you know, school sucks and that kind of stuff, because I went and looked at it as right after the committee meeting.
Does the school really want to clean it up?
They're pretty choked. The teacher is pretty choked, and she seems pretty committed to a solution through fundraising. I haven't spoken to her in the last month, I'd say. But I said that I'd bring it, the information that we had, that I'd bring it at least up to the committee, as we talked about it last meeting as well, as an area of concern. So,
I mean, one thing we could do is, yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, how long did they expect was this gonna be like a permanent, like 50-year mural there for them?
Oh,
Or did we
they-
talk about that at all, how long we were gonna keep it up?
No, I think they anticipate being there a number of years.
It's too soon to obviously do something
Yeah.
different there.
Yeah, too soon. But, one thing
It's a
we
good
could do, you
question.
said, is operations could go out and power wash.
yeah, I would recommend it not be power washed.
Well, whatever system of cleaning.
No, yeah, I mean, until
Until we have a solution.
until it's ready to have
Yeah,
a solution.
But we can ask through you if, they've already offered it, so that's good. And maybe we, put a couple hundred, $400 or $500 to it, and they can fundraise for the rest.
Yeah, that would be,
And we can make a recommendation to say, yeah, we think you should do the GP 2000, but
Yeah.
surely.
When these opportunities come forward, can we not also make it part of our policy that GP 2000 is the go-to thing that we put on it to protect it initially?
I have a hard time understanding why it's so much money.
Yeah, that was my question.
I'd be interested,
Yeah.
I guess it must work, I don't know, I'm not convinced of how well it works, does it work?
I don't know.
Does it really actually work?
There must
The-
and
a lot of it has to do with the labor. My guess is that a lot of it has to do with the labor because you're not allowed to buy the solution yourself because that's something that we've looked into doing. Like,
We'll just
let's
have
just
some.
buy it and the school will do it. But the supplier won't allow individuals to purchase it. They have to purchase and
strong
install.
stuff.
Is it because of the toxicity, or is it just because they want to
Well, it
control
shouldn't
the
be
market?
because they market it as environmentally friendly and it's able to,
Okay, so they're just cornering the market.
they're just marketing.
Are there other products out there?
Not that we've been able to find. This is all out of Seattle, Washington.
What's the company? Good business response?
Anti-graffiti, I'd have
Well,
to look it
Things
up.
with concrete's horrible anyway, it's like it's so close, you can't catch it anyway. Just to see how well it works. I think we need to hire those artists to go back and fix it.
Just paint over it?
Could you
Or
paint over
in a weekend,
new designs over
give
top
them
of it?
$500 or I don't know, $100 each, go fix it. I don't know, or like get the paint, I mean,
Can they paint over the graffiti and and fix it back to where it was, the way it was?
That is something that I talked to the teacher about. I don't, because some of the students have moved on, some of them have, it's not the same core.
Yeah.
There was graffiti in that location prior to this mural.
It was
Oh,
one of the,
for sure.
it was one of the walls we said, go ahead,
Yeah.
paint on here.
Yeah.
So it was, what do we call those walls?
Free
Art walls.
Mhm.
We designated 4 locations in Squamish as art walls that people would just go and do it wherever they wanted. And this was one of the locations. I can't remember. This was like about 4 years ago.
So those were like just free walls for
They were just,
graffiti.
we said, here are 4 walls.
so it could be as simple as someone almost just listen to it, but it's been up for a year, I'll go do stuff.
Oh, it was up for a week.
A week?
Yeah, it's up for weeks, yeah.
It was just finished before
Yeah.
the end of
I mean,
school.
you know, talk about.
I was just saying that because, yeah, you said it was just kind of precedent set. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think the committee's suggestion of an offer of power wash and
a little bit
a
of
little
help.
bit of money is a really good direction if that's something that you want to.
I wonder if some of the kids would have some idea that they could just take little sections and actually do little cameo art pieces to cover it up instead of washing it and trying to get it back to
Well, that's what, I
normal.
think what Andy's suggesting is that the students just go and paint over it and
Yeah.
reintegrate the art into the art. And maybe that's just part of the organic process of murals, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially accessible murals like this that are,
Mhm.
I think it's interesting.
yeah.
Go ahead, Ken.
Was it still considered like an art wall after this mural was empty?
Well, we never technically undesignated it, I guess. So I mean,
So these people just might have thought.
they might have thought, oh, we can just
Go over it.
put our, and it's not graffiti, it's not art,
It's tag.
it's tag,
I thought
It's-
the
it's ego.
honor, yeah, it's the sort of honor among thieves thing, you
Yeah.
don't do it on things that have been made by
Yeah.
children,
Or, and,
or anybody, yeah.
You could do something as simple as, like, paint a white rectangle over the affected area and then have a new mural in that white rectangle, someone else do a new one, or the artist can come fix.
it just
You
becomes
kinda
part of
just-
the mosaic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that idea.
Yeah.
just move on with it.
Yeah,
Keep
rather
that
than
in
trying to.
The students are learning for the students, they'll learn about their work getting wrecked, everyone gets
Yeah.
something wrecked, and they'll probably all be okay with it now. So, you just tape it off, you know, make nice clean rectangles again.
It's an interesting idea. I know that the school doesn't have budget to carry forward on the project, so that it would have to come out of this year's budget, and they would have to assign that as a project.
Yeah,
But
it's-
it's a good, it kind of counteracts the, like the definition of insanity, like wiping it off, getting it tagged, wiping it off, getting it tagged. You're creating a new.
And it doesn't actually have to happen this fall in this budget either. It could actually be, you know, like set up for spring.
Yeah, so why don't we, I'm sort of hearing, why don't we sort of let them figure out the solution they want to come up with. Next public art committee, we can see what they're there, and if we can help out, we can. If we can't, we don't need to, we don't. But we can just extend the, through you, Devin, if ops can help with whatever they need,
Yes.
when they need it.
Yes.
And I don't know, Kiana, is there, and I don't know if there's politics between schools, but do you think Howe Sound, or is there an art class at Howe Sound that we might want to?
I know me and my friend would definitely want to paint a mural or
Yeah.
a piece.
Yeah.
whatever, If there was.
Maybe it's something to just talk amongst your friends and see if there's something that. Have a conversation.
And I wonder if the youth center would be interested, you know, some of that, to be part of that as well. I just think the more people we get contributing to that, the
More people
harder
feel
it
ownership,
becomes
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I'll report back.
Sale of street banners.
Oh, thank you. I just put that down there. We've sold approximately 17 of the 44. So I just wanted to give a shout out that they're still for sale, they're still available.
Yeah.
We're still kind of actively throwing it out on social media. So don't be shy.
I brought
Tell-
some to
tell your
Shimizu
friends.
and to Shenzhen.
Very nice. Good stuff. So that was my only pitch for that. I wanted
Okay.
to make the community aware.
Are you gonna have some for sale at the Darkened Fall Fair? Do we have a presence?
I don't think the district has any.
We don't have the mechanism of a point of sale purchase off-site. It's a great idea.
We'll sell them, I'm not worried
Yeah.
if they trickle out, that's fine.
I don't
And that
have
money's
the
going
history.
back into our account, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, I don't have the history on that. What is the current method for obtaining one of these?
To come to Municipal Hall, and you can purchase them at the finance desk at the front.
And these were a misprint of the first run that happened, and then our public art committee said, "Oh, no, we want the colors to be as the artist intended them. And so we had about 70 or
Yes.
something printed off,
Give or
50, I
take.
can't remember.
Yeah.
And then we said, color's not right, so the public art committee paid to have another run done. And the intention was that the money from this would go back into our
Correct.
office. So.
Around the corner from me, somebody's bought several of them and has them hanging from the porch and blowing around. And
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they look really nice.
Cool. So you just take a picture of that, Instagram it, we'll sell like hotcakes.
Happy accident.
This is a really quick one as well. The Stan Clark Park mosaic. I haven't made a whole lot of progress on this since the last meeting. My next steps, as I discussed, is to meet with the two consultants, I guess I'll call them, with Catherine as the subject matter experts, and we'll have a telephone call and then come up with a recommendation and a process to bring back to the committee for next meeting. So I just wanted to acknowledge that that is still in the works, and that we hope to at least have a plan before the snow starts to arrive.
And Thursdays and Fridays are my best day,
Yes.
if it's a weekday, but next week is not good. I have a really, really big feature to run,
Sounds good.
but it's pretty flexible apart from that.
And then the other thing that I can show you guys for fun is the crosswalk from the Mayor for a Day competition, and what that turned out. So, yay! So for better or for worse, operations has asked me to communicate that this is $400 stretched to its max. So that a realistic price tag for something like this is probably more around the $1,000 to $1,200, and that So a special thanks goes out to 2 operations for making it happen for that.
So maybe just a few comments, and happy to entertain anybody's comment. Did they really need to put the lines? The rectangular,
Cross.
yeah.
Oh, did they really need to overlay it on top of the crosswalk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this instance, yes, because Capital Works didn't wait long enough to see the final result of the template. So the crosswalk was painted because all the crosswalks were being painted in all of Squamish in this 2-day period, and it was either painted or not painted. And so the call was made to paint the crosswalk.
They should have not painted it.
They should not
In the
paint it.
future, not paint it, because it really does, I think, compromise the,
Yeah, interrupts the design.
it's not the design. It
Okay.
looks like someone's painted over a crosswalk.
Yeah,
Sorry, it
No.
does.
no, duly noted.
I actually liked it.
Oh, I like that, I love the, I think it's
I
cute.
like the blue on the white.
I like-
actually
I
works
don't
quite
like,
well.
it's this part, like the crosswalks
This
there,
is
right?
the-
And then
Right.
they just painted
Yeah.
over it
Yeah.
with the friends,
Is
so
there
it's
any-
those pieces I don't
Is
like.
there any way to paint some kind of border at the top and the bottom, sort of connect, like blur them, knock them out, or is that too late to do
I
that?
could do that
I
at
guess that takes
1:30 in
time.
the morning.
Give it a spray can.
Operations
Swap
offered
it.
for the Public Art Committee to come out to help paint it, should they be so inclined,
Yeah.
if they would like to participate.
It might be worth, on these types of projects, when they're gonna be done, to have someone from the committee, if we can,
Yeah,
there on site. We can designate
sure,
like a mural and
yeah.
a painting person to sort of go,
With a clipboard and pencil.
because there's sort of art, and this is maybe I'm nitpicking too much, but there's little artistic things that, no offense to operations, they may not have their eye on
Yeah.
that.
Well,
I
it would
was
be-
so impressed with it, sitting down there with the paintbrush and somebody actually painting
Well, I think that's
That
awesome, yeah.
kind of thing. It was kind of like, wow, is that the way you actually apply it? I was surprised, you know, so it was pretty cool.
I hear you.
Well,
I think that's a great idea.
It's, I mean, this is sort of the first one we've done in this more,
For your,
yeah, as opposed to the one, either creative, which are very
Yeah.
high,
The-
expensive.
The other thing I wanted to say, yippee for staff, because they also did the bicycles on Cottonwood, so the safe routes to school. So it was done as a package kind of thing with this, so
Mhm.
I thought it was really clever the way they put it together, so
Yeah.
kudos to
No,
staff.
the overall thing is great, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's the minutia that sort of
The
gets me a
detail,
little bit.
yeah.
But, maybe that's just me, do other people feel that about the crosswalk?
yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah.
The thing that I like about that is it's a standard pattern. Everybody knows that's a crosswalk, you know, because that's the pattern with those funny little kind of things. So there's
We
pros
have
and cons and stuff.
Solar lights flash, everyone knows
we
this
did,
is,
we did everything though, don't we, really?
everyone knows this is a crosswalk.
I think if you had the same color blue and you're able to just sort of whack a thick line at the bottom and a thick line at
Yeah,
the top
or even
and knock
just
it
white.
out. I love the
Yeah.
Friends theme, that's
Yeah,
what
it's
made
great.
me go, ooh, when I saw it, I really like that.
And they like it.
Just
Yeah.
We should have the artist go and do a little signature there.
During your phone.
Anyway, okay, did you take a picture of the other one?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Has anyone seen the other one?
No, where's it?
It's at the south end of
It's the railway.
Junction, yeah. Not
Did you go take a look?
It's not very
at the Junction Park, Pavilion
recognizable
Park,
as.
where we did the new infrastructure, the roadscape. Yeah, I didn't think it was well done, and it cost a lot of money. So this is why I just think we need to have one
Yeah.
of us sort of as a bit of a eyes on.
We need to have a conversation about if things are going sideways or squirrely, what kind of power we have to say, let's hold off for a day,
Yeah,
or
I
something.
don't know, we have,
This was quite an operation because they had to block one side, you know, and then they had to route traffic, so then they had two people actually directing traffic. And then they had to wait till it dried, and then they moved over and did the other side. So it was a whole disruption of traffic. It's quite an operation to do that.
Yeah.
It's not a trivial kind of thing to say, wait, hold it, and then come back, I don't think.
No, but you have places all over the world where citizens do that, and citizens are painting it, and citizens are holding stop signs, and it's a community project. And I've had this conversation before. We tend to want to micromanage that too much, I think, from a bureaucratic point of view. See how diplomatic I can be? It's a good thing nobody watches these meetings.
There's a challenge.
Anybody up there? I get any?
What I hear is that there's still a lot of interest in the crosswalks and the creative crosswalks, and so I would welcome us, you guys as a committee, in terms of looking at that in the 2018 planning, so that we can really get ahead of it and so that from a staff perspective, mistakes aren't.
Yeah, and we just did this really at the last minute through the Mayor for a Day thing, but it could be that we want to do one of these at every school in the next 2 years kind of thing, and go out to each school and put a competition out in each school. But we can talk about that in next year's work plan and budget.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, it's like, I mean, every time you go and actually do it, it's the first time, right? So like now we know, now be careful. Like,
You learn, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I don't
yeah.
mean to be overly critical, I just,
yeah, it's so.
it's all good. So we will relay our thanks to operations. I mean, I think it's a good start.
If I may, I have 2 additional last minute
Sure.
staff updates. The first being I was able to talk with Stan from the Mural Festival, whose last name I butcher every single time. Matwachuk, thank you. And so the Mural Festival is going ahead with 2 murals, one on Cleveland and one at the south end of 2nd Avenue.
Okay.
And so the one on the south end of 2nd Ave has started to be painted, and he's hoping that the one on Cleveland will happen in the next week and a half.
Do they need more locations for that?
They are looking for more locations, but it's chicken and egg with money and artist.
Oh, okay. Because on if you go down Man Plan past the golf course, they just cleared a whole lot there, and there's like this. Anyway, there's a big yellow like sea container. So it would be perfect. Like someone could paint it, but if they're looking for one, I'm sure they wouldn't care. Just like.
I think he really only chose
If they
2
need more,
artists
yeah,
to
okay.
do it
Yeah.
this year and then build on it for next year.
And the second was, I had mentioned a couple meetings ago, but our capital project manager brought it up. There's a newly installed generator along Government Road across from the watershed that was delivered the wrong color. So it was delivered yellow or beigey manila.
Not vanilla, manila.
Instead of green. So the supplier has committed to providing a wrap for it, and I wanted to bring that to Public Art and say, we don't know the details, we don't know the specs, but there's something creative there that we could do, whether or not it's direction from the committee in terms of run with something branded or what.
What we could do is from the Hydro Box wrap thing we're gonna do in camera in a minute, if there's an additional design that we say, hey, let's put that one there, we could do that too, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Is that it?
I had thrown in 2018
Yeah, so just a little, put your thinking caps on in terms of we now understand the budget. Think about programs we may want to start to plan for next year's budget. Whether or not we want to, we'll have almost $70,000 in sort of the big project budget, whether we want to initiate that thing, whether we want to see if we can go leverage those funds with some other funding body to see if we can double it. So just start to get the juices flowing in terms of what we may want to put in the work plan for next year. I always find that if you don't get it out in front of these things, you miss your opportunity to get stuff done before the summer, and then they kind of drag on. The summer doesn't get things, and then all of a sudden you're into September, and then you hit the rainy season. So if we can make sure we're sort of October, November, prior to December, have sort of a bit of a plan, so we can go out to competitions once we have them. In theory, once it's January, it's next year's budget, so we can start actually going out and spending money, if you want to call it that, or setting up to spend the money. So just keep sort of those timelines in your minds in terms of what we may want to do. Sounds good? Okay. Why don't we do a motion to close? Moved by Meg, seconded by Andy. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're back in the Public Art Committee meeting, and we'll just do a quick round table before we go closed. Toby, you've got something.
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about the art walk that's happening, and but I think it should be Fran because she was just interviewed by CBC, so she has lots to say
She's
about
famous.
Not really.
Anyway, Sydney asked me to do this because she, as the Squamish Arts Council, is supporting visuals in the art walk, and unfortunately I wasn't here last weekend, but the opening was on Saturday, and the biggest thing is that we've got all month long, there's over 40 venues, where is it? 40 galleries, businesses, and studios with over 45 local artists participating. And so all month long, there's art all over in Squamish. There are youth workshops, there's drum making, there's children's craft, there's Chinese brush painting going on as workshops. And there's open studios that are happening all through the month. Andy's got an open studio every Saturday at his location, and Fran and I and a bunch of other artists have different weekends that we've got open studios. And has anybody heard about this? About the art walk?
I
Like
put a little
through-
piece in the Peak today. Which one?
Just because
I've heard about it on media.
Yeah.
I've heard about it because.
Just because I noticed that there's not really much signage up about it, and you know, the Brackendale Fall Fair, there's signage all over the place, and I think maybe that's a piece that's kind of missing, but anyway, we're hoping that this format continues for next year so that we can build on the
You actually have the red art walk
there's
banner.
there's red art walk banners at all, I think, or most of the
The
locations.
business locations,
Yes,
that kind of stuff
yeah.
to alert people
Yeah.
that yes, this is
And
one
then
of the
there's-
properties.
then there's-
Posters.
There's these art walk maps,
Yeah.
map and flyers that are at all of the locations. And so this has got pretty much all the information that you need on it. And do you know, does the district have any of these maps in?
I haven't seen it.
Would we
No, absolutely.
Would we
take
have permission to be able to
Absolutely.
put one of our
Yeah.
flyer scans?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Put them
Okay.
at Brennan Park, put them at
Okay.
the library, put
Okay.
them here, put them wherever you want.
Yeah, we've got the library's already on one of the designated locations, so.
Senior Center.
Yeah, okay, so I'll earmark those 3 locations.
I just wanted to point out simultaneously that Arts Whistler is no longer doing an art walk. It was supposed to be starting now as well. And they did not make an announcement about it. I wrote about it in the current issue of the paper, the issue that's just ending. And I asked Mo Douglas why not. And I was a bit surprised that they wouldn't flag it for at least somebody like me, because this has been a big part of the Whistler visual arts thing for a very long time. And the idea is that they're now going to be running, instead of an art walk, it's going to be an ongoing process of getting artists into businesses and the same sort of places year-round. But I've thought about that, and I haven't had a chat with her yet, but I think that's kind of an error, because it's an error from a marketing perspective, because you know, you've got this thing, it lasts a specific time. You can use that as a brand, or as a way to talk to people about it. Now it's just going to become part of the ordinary operations of visual arts for Arts Whistler. And I'm not getting notices from them saying, oh, there's a new show by such and such at this business. It's not happening. So, I mean, I will probably poke them eventually and say, you know, I can do a profile on this.
Have any of you been to the studio tours in Ontario?
Yeah,
And
They are huge,
yeah.
huge, like
Yes.
Halberton County
Oh,
studio
and,
tour. There's thousands of visitors a day.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thousands, and they sort of, you have to have, if you hit the Broadway, you have to have, you know, $10,000
yes.
of product,
Minimum.
$15,000 of
Yeah,
product. And then the smaller artists, or the artists that may not have a lot of product, don't mean to diminish the
Yeah,
product by saying product, they're sort of an off-Broadway tour.
yeah,
These things
Yes.
are huge,
Yeah.
huge,
They're
and they're
juried.
iconic, and
yeah.
they can be juried, and then, you know, Halberton County has one, and Muskoka County
Oh,
has one, and
Muskoka's famous for
and
that.
Parry
Yes,
Sound County
yeah.
has one, and then all up the whole
Yes,
peninsula,
yes.
down to Sarnia, and everyone has their, these
Yeah.
are huge, and I think that's sort of what the inspiration was this
Yeah,
years ago. And we're not getting there, but they, you know, when you're on the studio tour, you're going to a very prolific artist studio.
mhm.
So I just wanted to point you all towards the peak tomorrow because I've written a 1,000-word story on the experimentation of temporary use permits for artist studios in Whistler.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you take a look. It was started a year ago, and the artists there, they have to have a business license and a temporary use permit, which is an extra $200, which so a lot of the artists are upset and they think they're being penalized twice. And
I don't think we require either here.
no, okay. Well, you know, that's a selling point, okay, just for future reference, because I don't think that this issue for them is going anywhere soon. So they brought in all these bylaws and everything a year ago, and then Arts Whistler stepped up and said, okay, well, we'll cover the cost of the TUP as a pilot project to see what the experience is like and whether the artists working from their home studios benefit and all of that. 4 artists came forward for this, including the Masseys, Vincent and Michelle Massey, who have been, as they call it, illegal for 32 years because they operate everything from their home studio. And they're quite dissatisfied with how the year has gone. And anyway, I'll just point you out to that story tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
worth reading it in terms of policy and what can happen. Because it's about the will to have something like Halliburton. I would suggest that Whistler doesn't have the same will for that.
No.
For a variety of reasons. It is fascinating considering we're all sort of getting a little bit closer in terms of the Sea to Sky Arts councils and also Arts Whistler's sort of intention of sort of scooping up everybody from what I could tell and putting them in sort of one big happy
Yeah, because
promotion marketing.
if you were to compare something like Art Walk to the studio tour in Halberton County,
Mhm.
which is the last one I went to, it was years ago, it's huge. Like Halberton County is as big as Sea to Sky Country, if not bigger.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think to really get that real promotion down the city of
Yes,
getting people in the city to come up, you would have to do a real regional art walk or studio tour.
well, I know that when we started Art Walk here, I don't know how many years ago,
Before I was on council.
we were talking to one of the organizers of the Muskoka tour, and that
Mhm.
was at
Yeah.
that time 25 years old.
Yeah.
And they start at the end of the previous year,
Mhm.
you have to be juried into it.
Mhm.
Each artist was paying $500 to be in the tour,
Mhm.
and they limited it to a number of studios, like 40 studios, because it's so much driving.
Mhm.
And then each studio had to have at least one other invited or guest artist,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so that, you know, you had about 100 people total. And it was, to get into that was
Yeah,
prime.
competition, yeah. But it-
Mm.
Yeah.
One thing with the art, sorry, Ryan.
I'm just, you know, I'm not familiar with a lot of these art walks and, you know, that kind of stuff, but I am familiar with the garden tours. And we started that when I was really small, and people had to get a ticket, you know, and so then we knew how many people were going around. And then everybody was going around, it became a thing to do
Yeah.
in the community. And I think I would like to see it become the thing
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
in the community. So then we start using the community as a sounding board to actually really start growing this so that we get more people out and more people aware.
Same idea as the garden tour, except there's art for sale.
Yeah,
that's-
absolutely.
That's the other.
But it's the same kind of thing. It's now it's a thing to do, right?
I'll
To
take
get your
this
ticket.
hydrangea
You know, in Whistler's case, they'll be running this pilot project for another year, and they're putting out a call for other Whistler artists with home studios to participate for one more year.
Sounds overly bureaucratic.
I could accept that definition. Mo said that basically their focus wasn't on it. Not a lot happened, and the Massey said it's no business, because part of the program for it was meant to, funnel interested potential customers towards these participating studios, and there were various bylaws, issues, and things that they had to agree to adhere to. And yeah, I'm not feeling success right now.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, please read the story tomorrow, because I do see it as an opportunity for this place.
So do you have other roundtable?
Anything, one other thing is Bob Brandt and Lisa Albertson at the Foyer Gallery, as part of the Art Walk, are having an opening reception for their show that just was installed this week. And it's on a Monday night.
I know, I emailed Bob back. It's Monday night, I can go.
Monday night. And so it's on this coming Monday, the 11th, and it's on from 6 until 8, so at the library.
I will
So,
try.
yeah. And there's all kinds of stuff going on, so
Yeah, I want to get a copy of that. Do you have any spares?
you can have that. There's a stack of them over at the library, and I'll make sure that a stack of them gets put
Thank
here
you.
and
To me.
at Brennan.
I love the guided bike tours.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing with the art walk. It's almost I think maybe a natural kind of evolution with it, because with the Whistler thing, I know part of the issue with the art walk is there's so many businesses that already have an artist that they work with throughout the year, and so it's like, oh, art walk, you want me to kick my artist out and bring someone else in, or so you end up going for these fringe accounts that don't necessarily maybe shouldn't be able to. So it's almost like, yeah, I kind of can understand where they're going there, but it's.
Well, the Sunshine Coast.
It's
has
something
a
that you
big art-
overlook,
Yes.
right, that fact.
You know, a
that-
2-day
Oh,
thing,
Yeah,
300 artists,
the
I don't
city.
know how many studios.
Well, I'm so glad to see it back, and we'll keep building it for
Yeah.
future. Anyone else have any roundtable? Yeah.
The only thing I was going to point out, oh, sorry, yours, it's just very quickly, is that Whistler's also currently painting its first rainbow crosswalk.
Well, there's just such
Well,
a time.
They're following
Yes,
our
yes.
example.
It's not exactly the same, but yeah, anyway, apparently there's going to be some big announcement on Friday, but it's already all over social
That was
media.
so last year.
Another
Better late than never.
And we have 2.
Score one for us.
Well, that's awesome, that's great.
Yeah.
And I also did get some feedback from, what's her name? Kiana? No, not Sienna. Sienna.
Sierra?
Sierra. No, well, I
Some-
don't even know. She's the one that painted the
Yes, Sierra.
library.
Yeah.
She sent me some feedback as far as the process and that,
Okay.
and I wasn't sure how to deal with it.
You know what,
so-
send it to Devin,
Okay.
and we can I think we can discuss it. If she thinks it's sensitive, and we can do it in camera.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's great to get feedback.
Yeah,
These are literally the
This
first
was,
time we're
this
doing
was
these.
like a month and a half ago, and
Yeah.
over the summer I completely,
Yeah, no,
forgot about it, and I would have,
it's good to get
Yeah.
the feedback, because
Yeah.
we want to make it better every time we do it, so.
okay.
Awesome. Meg?
I'm in the process of selling my place, and I actually managed to find, this is the Mosaic sign up.
Wow!
20,
Whoa.
30, 40, 50 years ago.
So cool.
So if anybody's interested, this was basically how it's put together, and people contributed money, and this is the kind of organizing principle of it and that kind of thing. So I don't know where would be a good home, and so there's a lot of work and
Historical
thought.
Society, if
Or
you're not
give it to
here.
the library or something.
Yeah,
But it might be an idea to give it to Devin to look through it.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Just ordered it up
Absolutely.
online.
Have you sold your house already, or?
No,
not yet?
no, just went up on the market. The other thing I wanted to do is there's a copy of this.
Yeah.
It's appearing in all kinds of different places. The reason that I brought it is because Keely actually did the artwork in the middle map, and what I would like to see if
I think Devin needs one.
this committee would actually like to consider a district art map for the district of Squamish. It wouldn't be turn left at this particular intersection, it would be an art piece that showed the proximity of the Tenderfoot Hatchery to Quest University to whatever. So again, I don't know how we go about establishing priorities, but I would definitely like to have that as part of a budget discussion
So,
to see if this group thinks that that would be a cool idea. It would be a district project. Yeah, so this is just a little
yeah,
thing that we put
we'll bring it
together.
back when we start to have the work plan conversations, and put numbers to projects and prioritize the projects through next year's work plan.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if people
Yeah.
thought it was a good idea, not here, but so that we can
I
actually.
think if we,
think about-
I'll
think
need
about
something a little more tangible to get my brain around what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
But-
So do I send it through Devon?
Perfect.
Okay. And then the other thing is, if you look at this and sort of think, you forgot something, like for example, we forgot transit, which of those major locations are on transit? It was kind of like, oops, in terms of the services. And the other thing that we've discovered, we actually put next to the wheelchair, check planet.com, which is a Rick Hansen site. And in fact, I've just discovered that they've discontinued that because there are other apps for people who are mobility challenged to actually assess, what's accessible and what's not accessible. So this is a work in progress. So if you do have comments, then I really would be grateful to hear what you have to say.
Just one comment I would make is,
Yeah.
you don't want to get too much stuff on there.
Yeah,
I'll
I
get
hear
way
you.
too busy. Cool.
So tell me what we can take off. Or else
I
we have
haven't
to
thought
make
that,
it
you were just talking about what's missing. I'm like, if you get too much stuff, you'll lose the,
Yeah,
it's
the impact of
hard.
it. Yeah, no, I hear you.
Any other roundtable?
I got a cool project in my back pocket for next year for possible public one. but we can talk
Okay,
about
cool.
it. Yeah.
The other thing we used to do at the beginning of these meetings was have someone do a bit of show and tell. So for example, I can't remember her name, Melissa? She went to Vietnam and she came back with a whole bunch of pictures of murals that she'd seen there and that type of
cool.
thing. And so I wouldn't mind reinstituting that if people want to.
Yeah.
I think
my
we've died
famous
because
one
you
that
can-
never happened, yeah.
But if you see something or you just want to do a show and tell about something you've seen or anything like that,
Email me.
email Devin and you'll get on the agenda. It's almost like I think you have to assign it to someone or it won't get done. But for example, I just drove across the country. I snapped a few public art things as I was going across the country. I did get them organized enough for today, but
Would you like to be first up for next meeting?
You're number one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
let me think about it.
Digging my own.
I didn't want, I was recommending.
Digging my own grave.
And at any time, if you want to bring something to the committee to show us, just bring it. But if you want to do a little show and tell, just so we start to think, like, I think one time I did the clean energy sculptures. Actually, I missed that meeting. I think I sent you with that. But anyway, any kind of fun ideas that you might want to just come and bring us, especially if we start to in the next year do big installations, we start getting
Would,
ideas of what we may or may not like.
would members potentially be interested coming around to my place and making small mosaics of an evening? Because I'm
Yes.
practicing on teaching.
Yeah,
Okay,
Sure.
yeah.
it's a fall project.
Yep.
I have I have one big space, things like that. Okay.
Alrighty. Yeah.
One more thing, inventory of public art, we talked about it at last meeting. And your idea, maybe we each take a geographical area,
Yeah.
an alternate way of organizing it. Catherine is really interested in mosaic, maybe she looks at what are the mosaic projects and just getting a list. Maybe I'll do Aboriginal carving
Yeah.
or something like that, where are they? So we
Yeah.
just start
thinking about.
Mhm.
Might be an idea, Devin, to have Dan Griffin come back. Griffin?
Yeah.
Griffin. He presented in the first year Public Art Committee, and we can GIS all the public art in town and put them on maps on our site and actually start to database all the public art too. And maybe we'll see if Dan in the next month or two can come back, and, because we have enough new members that it'd be good to have a little refresher on that. Awesome. Okay, is that everything for roundtable? Okay, so we will close now. I'll have a motion to close.
Bye.
By Toby and Meg, all those in favor, opposed, motion carries.